This episode is from the Moravian Yankee archive. Earlier dispatches from the same life, before Miriam knew quite what she was building. Miriam was newer here then. Some things have changed. The confusion about the country name has not. This video is for entertainment purposes only, not an official historical documentary. So don't come at her.
You know, Czechia is not Chechnya. You know, I had an online class I was taking, and the instructor asked where everybody was from. And when I said that I was in Czech Republic, he said, Chechnya. Are you learning Russian? Do people wear burqas there? Do the women have to wear burqas? And then I realized a lot of people were very geographically challenged. So, hence this video. Dear non-EU world, the Czech Republic is not Chechnya. Ever since the government decided that it would use Czechia for casual uses, such as for sports, for products, newspaper, literary works, and it decided that it would use the official name Czech Republic for its official purposes, like passports, embassies, and so forth. And ever since then, people have been forever mixing up the two names, Czechia and Chechnya. So here are some facts about the two countries. Chechnya is a whole of the country in the Republic of Russia. The people there are known as Chechens, and they're indigenous to the North Caucasus. They're ethnically related to the Ingush. Chechens are Sunni Muslims. The territory known today as the Czech Republic is a very old place. They had independent kingdoms for over 500 years, well before the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Most of the beautiful sights that you see today in Prague, including the Prague Castle and the Charles Bridge, they're there thanks to the famous Czech kings, especially Charles IV. Even before the Czech kingdom, there was the great Moravian Empire. That lasted around 200 years, and it went as far as the Adriatic Sea. The Czech Republic is situated in Central Europe. Germany and Austria, you know, the places that you like to visit, they're right next door. From the Czech Republic, you can be in Italy and France in just a few hours. The Czech Republic was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the heartland of the Holy Roman Empire from 1867 to 1918. It was ruled by monarchies such as the Habsburgs. After World War I, the 1918 crop failure, the general starvation, and economic crisis, well, these are some of the things that contributed to the collapse of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. The empire consisted of the Translathanon languages: Germans, Czechs, Hungarians, Italians, Lithuanian, Polish, Romanian, Ruthenian, Serbian, Slovak, Slovene, Ukrainian, and Turkish. But the official language of the empire was German. After the collapse of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, it cleared the way for an independent state of Czechs and Slovaks. This independent state was known as the First Czech Republic in October of 1918. In a nutshell, the First Czechoslovak Republic rose to become one of the 10 most developed countries in the entire world. Its president was Tomáš Garrigue Masaryk. By the way, his wife was American. They had 20 years of democracy and prosperity, but that came to a screeching halt by the aggression of Hitler's Germany. See, people? That's why the world can't have nice things. In November of 1918, a Republic of German Austria was declared, with the intent of unifying all of Germany. In March of 1919, Austria and Czechoslovakia broke diplomatic relations. See, the Czech government and Prague alluded that there was some sort of conspiracy between Austria and Saxony to invade the Czech Republic. There was a dispute over the possession of the German-speaking parts of Bohemia and Moravia, later known as Sudetenland. The German-speaking residents of Bohemia declared themselves to be a part of Austria, and then, if it was going to be prevented, they demanded that it be protected, and demanded that it be annexed by Saxony and the German Republic. Czechoslovakia wanted to keep its land because they owned mines and resources, which already belonged to them. So the Czechoslovakian government sent troops to protect their interests. Let's just say a skerfuffle ensued. And it wasn't pretty. And let's just say that in the end, after an altercation near Poland's border, which was part of the Czech land already, the Republic was able to place the Polish minorities under protection of the League of Nations. You see, the leaders of the Czech Republic needed to come up with solutions because of the multiple cultures that were living in one land. So in 1928 and 1940, they divided the Czech land into 4 parts: Czech, Zemlye, Slovak, Bohemia, Moravia, Silesia, Slovakia, and Carpathia, Ruthenia. That's why you hear today Czechs identify themselves as Czechs, Bohemian Czechs, or Moravian, and why their dialects are slightly different. What's interesting is that Hungarian parties never joined the government, but they were not openly hostile to it either. Later, nationalism began to arrive among the different Czech populations, kind of like we see happening today. Then when Hitler came to power, Europe was worried. Then the Czech government leader, Beneš, he made an alliance with Russia and France for protection, and treaties were signed, thinking to protect themselves from Hitler's aggression. The Russians said that they would only help to protect if France went in first. Meanwhile, Hitler had told his foreign minister, von Neurath, and the top military brass that he planned to absorb Bohemia and Austria, and that he wanted to expel 2 million Czechs, and the eventual elimination of the Czech nation. Who's laughing last now? The German populations that were living within the Czech land, they started agitation parties, which were funded by Nazi money. Eventually, Hitler infiltrated these parties that were doing terrorist activities, and then he inserted some of his own German authorities. The Czech leaders, Masaryk and Beneš, they went into exile. On September 17, 1938, it was the beginning of the official undeclared German-Czechoslovak War. In 1948, Czechs attempted to join the US-sponsored Marshall Plan. That was for the rebuilding of Europe after World War II. That attempt was thwarted by a Soviet takeover and a new communist government in Prague. The fact that the US participated in drawing a line on the map and basically giving the Czech Republic to the Soviets is still kind of a sore spot today from some people I've heard. That's because some of the Czech pilots and some of the Czech military participated in joining the Allies for liberation in fighting during World War II. Anyway, more democratic reforms were being instituted. Softening of censorships that were being ended in Prague, and Soviets didn't like it. So in 1968, they came rolling into Prague with tanks. They were scared that if it was successful, that the other satellite states would jump in and want it also. So they did something sneaky. They moved Warsaw Pact troops from Poland, East Germany, and Bulgaria into the place under the guise of a military exercise. And then they invaded quickly. And they took control of Prague and other major cities. They took control of communication and other transportation links. See, Because the U.S. was already involved in Vietnam, they felt that the U.S. would condemn their actions, but probably wouldn't get involved. And they were right. You see, the Czech resistors, they fought bravely, and the Soviets were having trouble to instill a stable government due to the success of the resistance groups. But by 1969, they were able to achieve a complete takeover. So we all know the history when the Berlin Wall fell on November 17th, 1989. I remember it well, watching it on television in the United States. And hope and resistance around the world started to really grow. For hope and resistance and freedom started to grow rapidly around the world. And in 1989, the Czechs started their own Velvet Revolution. All the student protesters filled the streets of Wenceslas Square. The police tried to beat them back, but it was like the Czechs had become immune to the beating, and they just took it. They worked and they bonded together. The commoner, the people, the bus drivers, even some of the police, the store clerks, anybody and everybody banded together, and some of the authorities. When freedom comes a-knocking, it won't be denied. 500,000 Czechs took over the streets and filled Wenceslas Square. All agreed to not move, not work, stand still, with no average citizens to do the daily jobs, to keep the machine of the country running. Government was basically helpless. And on November 24th, the communist president, Husak, resigned and abandoned power 4 days later, according to Wikipedia. The Velvet Revolution lasted from November 17th, 1989 to November 28th, 1989. That's a short revolution, and it was successful. Borders were opened on the 4th of December, and people could go to Austria. That was the official ending of the regime. The Czech Republic returned to its sovereign authority, and also Slovakia returned to its own sovereign authority, as it was in the past before all these conflicts began. The new Second Czech Republic, the one that we're in now, is again a democracy, which is only 35 years old. It's still quite young, but powerful. So please be gentle and have understanding with them as they try to accommodate all the new immigrants, and to the surprise of why so many non-EU citizens and some EU want to come live in their small country. So please don't be upset that some of the services for non-EU immigrants and English speakers are slow and are still being developed as we speak. But I think they've done a remarkable job considering, don't compare a supposed 250-year democracy with a democracy of 35 years. They're still having some growing pains. So in the meantime, to make your stay a little more pleasant, learn to integrate, learn the language, try to acclimate. No one wants the feeling of being occupied or colonized. And the Czech Republic never colonized any country. They never participated in slave trade. They know what it feels like to be occupied, colonized. But most of all, stop confusing the Czech Republic with Chechnya, Russia. That's it. Take care, guys. Bye.